Watch this video if you want to find out what are 5 of my main lessons I've learned over the past 2020 and 5 of the lessons that my husband also learned over the past year. My name is Dana and I own a platform called BetterTopics where we regularly help hundreds of couples experience more love, joy and connection and also have a lot of fun. Now 2020 is over and we are in 2021. Like most people, the beginning of a new year is the perfect time to set objectives and goals and things that we want to do over the following year. Now, I'm not saying this is the only time in the year that you should do this or that you should definitely do it every beginning of the year. It's just a good time to, let's say, set the accounts straight. Reflect a bit on what has happened in the past and more specifically the past year, and set objectives and goals for the following year. And then obviously create the plan for it and start working on them. But before we get to the planning part of it and how we plan our year as a couple, I decided to do a video of reflecting back to the past year of what are the main lessons we've learned and what are some things that we think are important and should not go by unnoticed, and things that we can also learn from. Once we have reflected on the past year and we know what are the lessons that we should keep in mind for the future, we can go ahead and plan our amazing new year together with our partner. But that will be the part 2 of this video. So let's start with the first part, which is the reflecting and what are 5 most important lessons that I've learned over the past year and 5 lessons that my husband learned over the past year. So let's start the lessons we've learned over the past year. I've narrowed it down to 5, although, well, there are a lot more than that, obviously. And Robert has narrowed it down to 5 as well. So let's hear it. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. So I think one of the most important lessons I've learned over the last year, I mean, this is something I kind of knew before, but it got really well cemented within me last year, is that your happiness is within you and you should not base your happiness on anyone around you or on external things. And I think this is a lesson that so many of us learned over the last year, because me, as many others, have the tendency to base my happiness on a lot of external things. Maybe things that I buy, shoes maybe, or things that I do, or people that I'm with. And when I do that, I give away all my power to that thing or person, basically, because I'm expecting them to make me happy, which I shouldn't, because happiness, true happiness, is within me. And if you manage to get to a point where the happiness is just inside of you, then whatever happens around you, you'll be still happy. And also, you don't have to have limited happiness as you get from either the things you buy or the people you're with. Because so many of us realize that, especially since the lockdown and everything, the less time we spent with our loved ones, we felt a lot less happy, and mainly because we put our happiness in those relationships, whereas happiness is actually inside us. And if we manage to grow that happiness inside us, whether we are with our loved ones or whether we are away from them, we still manage to keep that happiness and not spiraling into, you know, sadness and depression and all of that. So I think this was quite a big lesson for me last year. Again, I kind of knew this before, but more at a theoretical level than actually experiencing it. And I realized that once I focused on growing the happiness inside me, I became a lot more calm. I stressed a lot less, and well, I am happy overall. So I think I kind of achieved it. It's still not 100% for me, so I still have to work on it, but I think I'm in a so much better place than I was last year. So that's my first very important lesson I've learned over the last year.
The main, or one of the main ones for me, is that you can, or there are amazing people everywhere, and like you said, you sort of know this even before, but this year, because of everything that happened, some people, or I don't know, things shifted slightly, and I met quite a few people in Romania, and some actually in my hometown, that are truly outstanding in the things they've managed to do in their lives until now, and the conversations with them have been amazing, and with a few of them I started working together on some projects. So it's really nice to see that if you really try to be part of a specific community or a specific group of people, you can actually find people you really enjoy the company of. And we found some amazing people in Romania today, the last year, or this year actually, this last year, and even here around Sheffield where we live, we've met quite a few amazing individuals as well, like Chris.
Yes.
So it really was a good year in terms of the people that we've met,
Although we had to basically stay away from each other, and with all the lockdown and all the restrictions that have been going on everywhere, basically, we still managed to find so many great people.
Yeah, exactly, online. I think before you were caught up with your own agenda and with everything going on, but now, because you had to shift the way you do things and how you speak with people, I think we managed to meet some amazing individuals that way.
Yeah.
Literally either through LinkedIn or through email or through connections from other friends that I had. It just met them one after the other, and it truly was an amazing year from that stand. So I learned that there are amazing people even in my hometown or various other places where I wasn't looking, but the moment you start digging in, you really feel that there's an entire vibrant community there that you're literally not aware of. So that has very, very much helped me to see that I'm literally 1, 2, 3 people away from anyone I basically want to be close to. So that was good. That was a good lesson.
That's a really good lesson, actually. Yes. So the second lesson I've learned over the past year is somewhat related to the first one, is the fact that so many people love to create misery for themselves and a lot of people around them. It is related to happiness because if you're truly happy inside, you won't let yourself affected by those people. You might even cut them out of your life, either temporarily or totally even. It really depends how negative they are and how much misery they create for themselves and others. And yes, it's okay to try to help them to come out of that misery and leave that aside, but many will choose not to because they're so used to living in that misery, and they love the intensity of it, and they're very scared of the unknown. Yes, it's okay to help other people, but if they just keep creating misery for themselves and you, it's also okay to let them go and just surround yourself with lovely people if you can. If not, then just get to a point where you're okay to be by yourself, because again, your main source of happiness should be inside of you, not in other people around you, and more so not in things that you can get. What is another lesson that you've learned over the last year?
In my case, something else that I've learned that I really wasn't expecting is that because of the lockdown, we had to cancel a few months sabbatical that we planned for ourselves in a few different countries that we want to go to visit. So we couldn't do that, and instead what we did is we went to visit Romania and various parts of Romania, And during that, 2-3 week trip that we took, we've seen a lot of very amazing parts of the country, and I knew Romania is a beautiful country, but even from living there for so many years. But this time, when we truly were open to seeing, what's around, and especially after visiting so many other countries, going there and seeing all of the mountains, all of the amazing scenery, we've seen the seaside as well. We've seen so many beautiful places of the country that now we actually have it as a goal to visit as much of it as we can, and as many different cities and places.
If you guys want to see a part of it, you can watch our seaside couples vlog, and I'll leave the link for that video in the description box below, and you'll understand what he means. I mean, the sceneries are amazing.
Yeah. And we really enjoyed many parts there. So yeah, that's something I learned, that Romania is much more beautiful of a country than I thought until now. So that leaves me very happy.
That's good. That's a really good lesson as well. My third very important lesson I've learned over the past year is that your current job doesn't necessarily need to be your lifetime job, unless you want it to. Like, switching jobs, it's okay. Switching things at your work is okay. And I feel not many people know this, especially because working so many years in one type of job, you tend to get into sort of a bubble where you cannot really see anything outside of it, and you cannot really imagine that there is a life outside of that type of job. Some of you might already know, because I've mentioned this in a few of my other videos, the fact that over the past summer I've actually changed my job. I went from working in a very corporate environment to working from home, which was quite a change, to be honest, and it took me quite a while to adapt. I don't think I'm fully adapted to it now either, but I'm working on it, and I think I'm in a so much better place than before. Although I was really scared in the beginning to do it, and it took me a long time to build up the courage to leave that job, because it was also more secure than my current job. But once I did, and once I stepped out of that bubble, I realized that there is a whole different universe of jobs outside of that job that I had before. If you're really unhappy in your current job, if you really don't find your calling in it, or that spark that so many of us want, then it's okay to look for other jobs. And if you don't know what you would like, just try doing other things part-time. See if you like them, and then just pursue that. And make a plan for yourself, and work on that. Yes, it takes a bit of time, and it's not as easy for everyone to just wake up one day and say, oh, I don't like this, I'm out. Once you do that switch, and once you start doing something else, you will realize that if you put the same effort as you're doing in your current job, you will get to do so many amazing things and to help so many other people. So I think the lesson is, if you don't like your current job, it's okay to change it. Yes, you do need a plan. Yes, it might not be the easiest, and obviously everyone has different circumstances, but there are so many other options out there. You can work from home, you can work in an office, you can work alone in an office, with people in an office, whatever you like. Just make a list of the things that you like about your job and how you would envision your perfect job to be. I don't mean anything like, oh, I just want to sit around all day, do nothing, and get paid for that. But I mean like a real job. Or maybe there are jobs like that as well out there. I don't know.
Maybe there are.
If you look hard enough, you might even find one of those. If you're miserable in your current job, instead of wasting years and years in it and waking up, close to pension age, and realizing then that you just wasted 20 years working in a job that you didn't like, why not try to make that switch sooner? And if you think you don't have the skills, you can learn them online. I mean, most schools are online anyway, so might as well do a course about something you're interested in. and find ways to monetize that. And again, this relates to the first lesson, is the happiness. You know, once you're happier with what you're doing, work doesn't seem like work anymore. It seems like play, and you end up getting paid for that as well, which is amazing. It truly is amazing. And so many people say that once they actually start working on their passion and money comes in, and they're like, this is not work anymore, and they don't mind working 8 hours, 12 hours, mainly because it doesn't feel like work anymore. It's just, you know, a lot of fun. And you get paid for that.
Yeah. But I think it's also important to mention that is the cause of your unhappiness in your work might be yourself, right? You might be the creator of your own misery. If you find yourself at any point in time complaining, you know, or pointing fingers or saying, you know, I'm not happy in my job because of this, that, and the other, you might be just an average complainer. You know, at which point you need to introspect, look into yourself and say, what am I complaining about? I'm complaining about this colleague, okay? What am I doing to make that colleague act in that manner, right? What are the triggers from my end, you know, that make that happen? Or, you know, like for example, if you have people that are gossiping, you know, in your team or at your company, you know, are you part of the gossip, or do you just put headphones on and, you know, listen to great music whilst the gossip is going on? So it's you really need to see, is it the job or is it yourself before you make any moves, because if you change jobs and you take yourself with you, you might be miserable in the next one after a few months as well.
Yes.
So it doesn't really work like that, right?
Yes.
You need to be very careful.
I mean, one of the switches that happened for me, it wasn't the job itself, because the job was the same as before. The volume of it was the same. The stress of it was the same. The people in it were exactly the same. And I worked in pretty much the same company for about 7 years. But it was me who changed, and I was the one that I wasn't willing to, you know, stay there anymore and do that type of job, because I didn't feel fulfilled. So I just felt I needed to go. But as Robert said, it's very important to check yourself first, see if are you fueling what's happening there, all that stress and negativity, or are you helping it? And if you're trying to helping it and you see it's not working, then maybe that's a sign, you know, it's time for you to move on.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that I've done it, obviously months down the line, and I see how good it is, it's better. But I was really scared in the beginning to do it, and it took me a long time to actually decide to do it and make the actual step. But once I decided on it, I immediately felt a release and a calmness that, okay, now I know. Because that insecurity of should I, shouldn't I, it's worse than knowing whether you stay or not. What is your third one?
In my case, the third thing that, you know, I really want to point out is that this year I've sort of felt this even before, but this year it has been even more. I found even more information on the subject, and I came to realize that 24-hour, you know, constant energy is very possible, and it is attainable. So I've known this before. I have studied people in the past that have outstanding levels of energy, you know, that go on for, I don't know, 20 hours a day, you know, sleep 4 hours and then they're back, and they can continuously do this over the span of years, which for me was very difficult. I normally need, I don't know, 6-7 hours of sleep to feel well rested.
I need close to 12.
No, you don't. But it is important that you feel, at least I got the feeling that no, there's more to life, you know, than sleeping. I don't want to sleep 1/3 of my life. That's really wasn't something that I felt was natural. And the more I studied this year, because I mean we had time, so
yes.
you know, you did that, and we kept studying on the subject of, you know, health and fitness and energy levels and things of that nature, and we got to a point where I really think now is doable to, you know, go on for 24, 48 or 72 hours, you know, without sleep. Not to be sleep deprived. When you're tired, you should just go to sleep. But when you get so much energy, you don't feel like sleeping. That's the point.
Yes.
So I've made quite a bit of progress in the last few weeks on this, and you know, I have more and more and more energy every day. I keep needing to sleep less. Like this morning, I think last night, we went to sleep at 11:30 or how much it was. Yeah,
close to midnight. Yes.
Yeah, midnight, and I woke up at 5 something with no alarm. Right, I literally just woke up. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm up.
So much of the medicine that we see and hear on the TV, and there are so many things that are ancient theories that actually don't work anymore, and today's society just needs new solutions. We're not trying to do this just to be able to work more. It's just to do more in life, because
to live more, yeah.
To live more, basically.
You want to live more.
Although many people say, oh, you need 7 to 8 hours to feel rested, actually is not true. It really depends on your body, what you fuel it with, and that means food and thoughts as well, and everything else that goes with that, and how you train it, basically. Because as Robert said, we did find some people that went even 4 days without sleeping, or 5 days or even more, and that was mind-blowing for us. But then once they started explaining how they do it, why they do it, and all of that, it all made a lot of sense. We just realized that a lot of things that we thought we knew about the human body, it's not 100% accurate, and that's okay, because you learn. And the point is to always learn something new. And you know, the things that we thought a year ago that were healthy for us, we found out they're actually not, and that's okay. We just change those. And I think that's an important thing as well that goes with that, you know, to always try to improve, you know, bit by bit, because nobody says you have to, okay, from tomorrow you do a personality transplant and then you're a whole new person and you're gonna work out so many hours a day and, you know, have the best diet ever. And I mean, we are humans as well, so, but we're still trying to do small improvements every day. We are seeing results of that, and it's amazing, because all the things that people tell us, we don't really believe them 100% until we try them. So once we try them ourselves and we see good results, it's amazing. Then yes, we start believing them more and more.
I mean, it's not about belief, it's about seeing the truth, right? And something that I liked, you know, a little quote that I found very useful this year, is that the truth is the truth whether you believe it or not. You don't need to believe in order for the truth to be relevant, right? So if there is a universal truth about something, right, it's true here, it's true in another country, it's true on another planet, it's true wherever, right? And it's also true for you or for anyone else, right? It's just literally true, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. So we love learning as many truths as we can about life, about ourselves, about our careers, and taking it one step further every time. Okay, is what we believe right now a belief, a social belief, or a religious belief, whatever type moral belief, or is it true, right? And so what a good test is that true everywhere? Because if it's not true everywhere, then probably, you know, it's not true to the extent at which you learned it or you know it right now. But you can dig in deeper and see why does this work for me, or why does it work for others? What do they actually do, right? Or what do they do differently? So I just imagined, I had this in the past as well, because I knew that sleep wasn't something I really like or I enjoy doing. I like it to the extent that it relaxes me and it's enjoyable and comforting. If I could change that to not needing sleep and being able to sleep 2 hours a day or less or whatever, and then, you know, being able to do whatever I want in 20 hours. I mean, just imagine. And I kept imagining, what does a day look like or have 20 hours a day. Imagine, instead of having, right now I have, let's say, or until now I had 16, so I get 4 hours extra a day if I sleep 4 hours less, right? So if I manage to do that from an energetic standpoint, to have 20 hours of energy a day. That's literally a part-time job extra that I can do whatever I want. I can, you know, I cannot feel bad of going to the gym for 2 hours because I have more time during the day. You know, I can feel good about learning or reading a book because I don't need to do anything else, right? It's literally everyone sleeping at 5 a.m. or at 12, you know, midnight, no one's doing anything. So I can literally just do whatever I want to, just live life and experience and expand, you know. So I learned that this year. I felt that I could have more energy. I always felt that, but now I know that there are truly people out there, thousands and thousands of people that, you know, live on an average of 2 hours of sleep for years, decades. 2 hours of sleep a day, and you know, they have very specific things that they do. So we're trying to mimic that outstandingly healthy lifestyle right now, and it's already starting to pay dividends. So we're already feeling much better. I mean, we wake up already, we have energy, and then we've never, I think historically, never woken up, you know, like at 5-6 a.m. and then stayed up until the evening at 12 midnight and then did it over
and not feel any energy crashes or being tired or
you have energy all day,
or feeling like you need a nap midday.
And this is only after a few weeks, right? Which is very important. Only after a few weeks we already, you know, spend more time together up until almost midnight and then wake up, you know, at 6 a.m. in the morning or something like that. So it's amazing, and with energy in both sides of the spectrum, right? In the evening and in the morning when you wake up. So I can just imagine if we keep on this path, you know, we can get to 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours. Hopefully we get to a point where we sleep is literally just, you know, we get tired once in a while. You know, we get tired. Okay, I feel like taking a nap at, I don't know, 2 p.m. and I take a nap until 4, and then I don't need to sleep in the evening, right? I just go on until the next day. So hopefully we can get to that place. And that's, you know, one of the lessons I've learned. Yeah.
And this is one thing that I liked what you said, and it's very true, especially the fact that when we wake up, although we sleep less hours now, we are refreshed.
Yeah.
Like I used to sleep 9 hours, 10 hours even sometimes, and I would still wake up feeling tired. Yeah. And once I realized the reasons why that's happening, and I looked at, you know, different aspects of my life, it made so much sense. And once I've implemented just tiny changes, you know, it already made a difference, to the point that now I sleep 6 hours and I'm refreshed in the morning. I'm lazy, yes, but I still feel refreshed. Like I don't feel tired. I don't feel like I could sleep another couple of hours.
You're intentionally lazy. You're living life in a lazy morning. I mean, like, you know, going to the bathroom in your own time, getting tea, you know, getting dressed. Like you're enjoying life. You're not sleeping, even if it's laziness, as in, you know, you're not doing anything productive. But you don't need to do productive things all day, every single day, right? So as far as we're concerned, we'd rather have an extra, you know, 4 hours of lazy time a day that we didn't have before, because we're so busy with our lives and with everything we need to do. So having those 4 hours of just doing whatever you want, whether that's, you know, reading a book or doing anything else, you know, it's just so amazing.
Yes. Great lesson, baby.
Thank you.
So we've arrived home from our walk in the park because it was getting very cold, and also the dogs were getting very close and loud. So, you know, we thought we're gonna continue the last 2 lessons at home. So my 4th lesson that I've learned over the past year is that family is really important, and spending time with family, especially because we live away from both our families, and we tend to go home, visit once, maybe twice a year. Because there is so much time between our visits at home, I get to see more and more, and for me it's more, you know, noticeable the fact that my parents are getting older and older. I mean, yes, everyone is getting older naturally, but when you don't see your parents for like 6 months or almost a year, you tend to notice a lot more how how much older they get every year. And although this year we weren't able to visit them as much as we wanted to, I did realize that, you know, family is important, because with good and bad, with all the drama, with all that, everything that goes with it, if you're happy within yourself, you can steer away from the drama and focus on the good times together. Focus on the things that you can learn from your parents and family, because even, you know, it doesn't really matter how old you are, you can always learn something new from them. Maybe even things that you don't want to do with your children, you can learn that as well from them. You know, there are so many things. And I've also learned that if we don't want to get caught up in the family drama and everything, it is up to us to, you know, steer the conversation to a different direction. Like, you know, if you know you're going to visit your aunt and, you know, she's gonna tell you about all the stupid things that are on the TV and all the misery that's out there, and, you know, all that drama and the bad things, why not just start the conversation with some, you know, different topics, you know, to tell you about good things that happened in her youth, or something good she did recently, or, you know, focus the discussion, because you can do that. You don't have to just listen to them, to whatever they say. You don't have to stay in that mentality and mindset and that all those negative emotions that mostly TV and bad news puts us in. Family is really important on so many levels, and I know for sure I took my parents for granted for so many years. In the coming years, I am planning to spend more time with them and make it more valuable, and focus on the best things that we can do together, and the good conversations that we can have together, and all the positive things, and leave the negative ones aside as much as we can. Whilst we are at the family topic and how important the family is, a tip as to how not to allow yourself to get caught up in the drama and the negative things that, you know, some of the family members might do. You see them as negative for you because they might have a certain impact on you, but that person who does that thing, they might not see it as negative necessarily. So if there definitely is something that you don't like, you know, just sit down and have an honest and open conversation with them about it. And obviously if they're not willing to change, then you can start, you know, limiting your interaction with them. But in most situations I found that if I had an honest conversation with them, they did put in the effort to change, because they knew the other side of the coin is to see me less and less, and they didn't want that either because they love me. There are ways to work around the negative situations and drama in families as well. You just need to have a bit of strength and actually do it, because it's important to spend a lot of time with family and make that time productive and happy.
It's not that they need to change, it's just that, you know, if they want to, they can, of course, but it's about, you know, adapting to make the visit and the interaction pleasant, right? So in our case, for example, certainly in every family, you know, there are a bunch of stories and a bunch of things going on, you know, in the city or with other relatives, distant relatives or whatnot. But we just told them, look, if you want to deal with those when we're not there, that's fine. Or if you want to, you know, reminisce and all of the misery, you know, going on in the world, if that makes you happy, that's fine. You can do that all day long if you want to, but we don't want to come visit you and, you know, we stay there for 5 hours and 4 hours out of those 5, you know, you're talking about everything that's on the news or worrying about this, worrying about that. No, that's not how we want our interactions to be like. We want our interactions to be nice, to be pleasant, you know, to be focused on things that we do actually want to talk about, you know, and would make us happy and, you know, would make us remember those moments pleasantly and, you know, joyfully. And so that's what we want to do, and we talked to our parents about that and various other relatives, and they got it and said, oh well, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And so we just we had those conversations, and you know, they were very nice. And again, it's not about them changing to that extent. You don't need to change your parents, and they'll probably have, you know, 20-30 years on you, so at the end of the day it's easier for you to change than it is for them to. So
from our standpoint, if we do or say something that they don't like, we just adapt as well, right? And we adapt and we don't do those things or say those things whilst we're with them. Like, for example, neither Diana nor I are smokers, right? We don't like it, we hate it. As much as we can, we hate it. But some members of our family smoke, right? And we just don't bring it up anymore. We let them smoke when they're smoking, and that's it. And we just, move on with our lives. They know our opinions on the subject. They know how we would prefer them to live longer and healthier, instead of, having issues. But the truth is, until they won't have some serious negative health issues from smoking, they won't mature fast enough. They'll just live their lives smoking, and it's bad for us. I mean, we've talked about it and we don't like it, but it's their decision, right? They can do whatever they want, just like we can do whatever we want. So we decide to not focus on that when we're around them, and then just focus on everything else that is great about them. Like, for example, when they make very tasty and healthy food, right? Or when they have all types of initiatives, of, oh, let's go here, let's do that, let's do the other, right? So amazing good things, and we decide to focus on all of the amazing things that they are doing or they have done or we will do, than all of the negatives. When Diana started talking about her lesson, it might have not been clear. We always knew the importance of family and how important family is in general. What we've learned this year is that we have been taking it for granted much too often and much too intensely, because we would go 6 months or more without seeing our parents or our family, and that was because we knew we could visit them whenever. We had the option to just visit them, they could come visit us, we could go. It was never a problem. We never saw it as a problem, and because we never saw seeing each other as a problem, we just took it for granted, saying, oh well, we could be there tomorrow if we want to, or next week. This year was different, and we couldn't. We were on lockdown here in the United Kingdom, and we've had various things come into play that made it very difficult for us to see them. And the moment we couldn't see them, we realized we actually like them, and we like them as people, and we like spending time with them, and we like being with them, and we like going on trips with them, which we couldn't this year. Up until this year, every year we went on trips with them. This year we couldn't. So and as Diana said, they're just getting older, and we're getting older, and this year it's like, many people have, passed away, whether that's as a result of COVID or not, but we did have quite a few people pass close to us. I said, well, we really should spend more time with family, and that's what we've learned. Not that they're important, but it is important for us to spend more time with them, dedicated time. And there's never a good moment, because we're always busy, we're always doing something. So just about committing to it, buying the plane tickets, when you're not on lockdown, and going and being with them, and just having that time together, right? And so that's important. That's one thing. I think that's the lesson that you've learned this year.
Yes. So basically, don't postpone anymore just because you think you will have time. You don't know if you will have time to see them again, especially during these times where there's even more uncertainty out there than it was before.
On that same subject of infinite abundance that we in the first world tend to enjoy, and when I say the first world, I mean if you have enough food, and shelter and water to live every single day, then you're probably you're much better off than many people on the planet. So within this, having access to food, having access to everything you basically want, I mean a gym membership is 20, 40, 50 pounds a month, so it's quite affordable for almost everyone if they care about their health, of course. And we used to take gyms for granted as well, right? Up until this year, where again we couldn't go. And this year, another one of the lessons I've learned is how much of an important part gyms have become in my life, right? And I don't think, you know, like maybe 50 or 100 years ago, I don't think they were a thing. You know, I don't think people used to go to gym because they would work the land or, you know, otherwise be involved in much more manual work. But for us, we sit around all day, right? We literally just, if we don't go to the gym, it's that our level of activity, physical activity, is very low. And so, and we do work out at home. We did during lockdown, we did a lot of home workouts, or we went out for walks more often, but we really enjoy the gym. We really love going to the gym. We love the treadmills, the elliptical, the rowing machines, the stairs, the barbells, the space, yeah, the dumbbells, you know, all of everything just there, you know. Oh, and if a dumbbell falls, you know, it falls on, it's fine, you know, it's not, you know, in your house. You're not scared you'll break something, you know, you have as many weights as you want. It's just so convenient, so incredibly convenient. Gyms are literally, I think we as a species probably have not realized how convenient gyms are to work out, to exercise. It's just amazingly convenient, especially if you have a large space, as Diana said, you know. And we do the gym that's very close to us, and they have a ton of space, you know, and we love that about it. And we went ever since we could, I think, every day, I think.
Yes.
And if there were days when we didn't go, the next day we would go twice.
Yes, I mean, I wasn't a big fan of working out in general and going to gyms, so I would go 3, maybe 4 times a week, and many times I'd be like, nah, I don't really feel like working out today, I don't really feel like going to the gym today, I'll go tomorrow. And it happened quite a few times, and then lockdown came, and then I felt, you know, the need to actually move, because as Robert said, we sit most of the day because we're working, and we work at a desk, so, you know, at a laptop, and you don't really move as much. And I really miss that. And working out at home, I think it's quite similar to working from home, where you have to adapt to being at home, and you're not here to relax or eat or sleep or just do something else. You actually have to work out and get into that mindset. Whereas when you go to a gym, it's a lot easier because everyone around you is working out, so it's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna work out as well. And I started missing the gym to the extent where it opened a few weeks back, and I went twice a day. I went from going maybe 3 times a week to gym to twice a day, and I couldn't wait to go. It was amazing. Like, I've just realized then, as Robert says, how convenient gyms are and how convenient they make, you know, working out, really. I mean, even if there weren't any classes anymore, and, you know, there was some restrictions as to the space, and you always had to clean the gear, which I think should be normal, but hey.
But not having classes was actually a good thing, because now more of the gym is open. Because there used to be a space where you had classes. I didn't go to classes ever.
I used to go. So.
I used to, yeah. But from the point of that space now being open, now you could go whenever, and you have an extra space, you know, where you can work out and do whatever you want to do there. So there's actually more space in the gym now because there are no classes.
Yeah, and I've seen so many comments online as well about the gyms, that they should keep them open. And yes, as long as you keep your distance and everything, I think they should keep them open as well, because it helps so many people with their mental health during this time. I mean, moving your body is so important, and we hear this all our life, in school, you know, after school. Every time people say that, in TV, in movies, you see this everywhere, that it is important to actually work out and move your body. But you don't really realize that until everything is locked down and you're locked basically in your house, and you're allowed maybe to go out like 1 hour. It is quite important because it helps on so many levels, and it calms you down, it gives you energy. I mean, there are only benefits to it, honestly, especially if you do it right and you don't get injured. But it is very, very important, yes. And I definitely experienced it more than just knowing it. The fact that gyms are very important, and working out itself is very important.
Yeah.
There were so many lessons I've learned during this past year, but these were just my main ones, I think. And although this lesson I've put it last on the list, it doesn't mean it's less important. And it is relationships, but romantic relationships, and mainly our relationship. I had a strange belief for quite a while where, you know, I thought if I meet this amazing person in my life, everything gets sorted. I won't have any other problems in life ever. I'll be happy all the time, constantly. You know, the relationship is going to be perfect all the time without me having to do anything. It just happens by itself. But actually, it's not like that. Great relationships do require work. However, that work doesn't mean it has to be tedious work. Maybe sometimes you have to have like certain difficult conversations, and you know, certain decisions need to be made, and if you take them together, it's again, you have to compromise on them, and you know, all this discussion that goes into it. But most times working on the relationship itself, it's actually fun. I mean, one of the reasons why we actually started doing these couple challenges for Christmas is to show people that you can do very simple things. You don't have to necessarily do them every day unless you really want to, but you can do them once in a while, once, twice a week maybe, you know, and still keep the spark in your relationship, still work on your relationship, because all the tiny things that we do, they can be considered as working on your relationship. Even spending an hour together, even having a walk together, shopping together, you know, whatever you like doing together. So great relationships do require work, but that work doesn't always need to be very tedious or difficult. It can be a lot of fun.
The final lesson I want to share today on my end, I've heard about it in the past when, you know, reading books and, you know, from other people. But this year, I realized how volatile our economy really is. Because, I mean, the economy, the way we know it, has been like this for several decades. I guess maybe even for over 100 years. It's actually quite recent, by the way. The world hasn't always worked on money and the way it does today with banks and so on. Banks and everything are a very new thing, the way we know them today and use them today. And I learned the history of money and economy from, you know, very, very good author. It's like 500 book pages, but it was worth it. But basically, this economy, this world is the way it is for, you know, over 100 years, 200 years, whatever, hundreds of years, and in 6 months the entire thing crumbled. This entire thing, you know, crumbles, and when I say crumbles, I mean changes very, very much, because I do a lot of business and personal coaching. Quite a few of our clients, and we had some, you know, webinars going out, some live streams and so on. We've had hundreds of people showing up and asking questions. And something I told them during this year is, look, COVID isn't something that eats money. Basically, when you have anything going on, right, in an economy, as is, for example, you know, what happened this year, the money doesn't disappear. It changes hands differently, but this doesn't disappear. The same amount of money is in the economy, right? The governments are still putting out money. You know, they were giving loans this year to businesses and to people and this, that, and the other, right? The same amount of money was in the economy. If your business or you as a person or someone wasn't getting it, that doesn't mean the money wasn't there, right? The money, the same amount of money is in the economy, right? It's just changing hands differently. It was very interesting this year to see how volatile, you know, the economy is and how fast things can change and how truly important it is to adapt quickly. In our case, for example, the portfolio of the businesses I own has grown significantly this year. A lot. We've seen so much growth this year on almost every single side. And it's very interesting that we could adapt and come to an ending of the year that is in line with our projections. Very, very different than what we considered or how we thought that the year is going to go. But at the same time, we have very ambitious projections every year, and we hit them this year. And it was very, very nice to see, 2, 3, 4x growth in some of the companies I own, and to see, some of them going from 25 employees to 50 employees, and tripling revenue and so on and so forth. It's amazing to see. But again, it's because the economy shifted and we were ready for it to shift. So I think the important lesson for me, it's more of a life lesson than something that I didn't know, because intellectually I understood that an economy can shift very quickly. But to see the entire economy shift whilst I'm alive, in 6 months, so strongly, I don't even think I felt, the 2008 shift in economy, even though it's historically they made it like a big deal, that real estate crumbled and this, that, and the other. But again, I don't know. With regards to money, I think the same money was there. I think the only problem even in 2008 was that people were in debt, in so much debt. They're getting a house and getting a mortgage on that house, and they were using then that house as an asset to get a mortgage on something else, which doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make, mathematically it doesn't make sense, because only one of those, if you can't afford, then the entire thing just falls down. And many businesses were in that situation where they were overextended in credit and debt, and people the same way. So it was bound to happen. The money was never there. You never owned the house. You never owned the property. You never owned the car. You never owned this, that, or the other. It wasn't yours. To think that something is yours for which you're paying a monthly, mortgage or rent or this, that, or the other, that's naive. And so I don't think the economy shifted in terms of the amount of money that was in the economy in 2008 either. It just, what shifted is people's perceptions. Oh, I actually don't own 3 houses. The bank takes them back. If I can't pay the mortgage, no, I don't own them. I'm literally, I need to go back to living in rent again, because I never took the time to buy one house and pay off that house, right? So it literally gets to a point in which I think it has to do a lot about perception. And again, this year has really showed me that the economy truly is very, very volatile, to the extent that, let's say until this year, tourism was an incredibly big thing. This year, half of the money in tourism went to somewhere else. It's literally the same money, but it went somewhere else. It went into research and development, went into IT, it went into infrastructure, it went into online courses, it went into universities, teaching people online instead of, locally, and so on and so forth. The money, the advertising money that was usually spent in football matches, obviously you can't do that anymore. But it's not like people didn't spend advertising money anymore. They did. They just spent it on, online ads on YouTube or on Facebook, or they local stores went on Amazon or whatever. It shifted. It's so volatile that it can shift from one year to another so drastically. It doesn't mean it can't come back. I mean, I think tourism will be an industry literally forever. I don't think tourism is going away anytime soon in the next hundreds of years, right? People will keep wanting to travel. They'll keep wanting to experience other things. They'll keep wanting to go to the seaside or the mountains or the Alps, or to Rome, or to another planet, in the future, if that's going to be a thing. But tourism is here to stay. It has had a very rough year, and probably another rough year this year, or just getting out of it. But as things progress, you'll see more and more things going back to, the industries picking back up, the way they were. Very different than how they used to be, probably. But at the same time, everything was shaken this year, and the lesson we learned about how volatile the economy is, I think that's is very good, because it makes you think that you need to be agile. You can't set things out, and you can't go into so much debt, guys. Please stop going into so much debt. We're lucky we don't we have a mortgage on the house or on the car or whatnot, but we can afford them. And if we ever lose the car, we'll buy a cheap car. That's fine. There are cars for £1,000 out there if we need one, right? If you really we give the car back, that's fine. If we lose the house, we lose the house, but we have like tens of thousands of pounds of equity built into the house. So if we do lose the house, we have tens of thousands of pounds that we can then use to buy a small apartment, with money down, because we've built so much equity in this one house, right? It does help to not spend money you don't have, never, or as much as you can avoid it. It's very useful to live life to its fullest, but if something costs you 50 grand and you really can't afford it, if it's an asset and it makes you money, fine, you can buy it, and it'll keep making you money. But if it's not, and if it's just an expense, I think twice if I can't afford it, right? So hopefully that's a lesson many people took this year, and they'll just become better for it, and all of us will.
Also, I think the reason why it is so shocking what's happening right now is the speed at which it is happening. Because if you think about, back in history, even with the Industrial Revolution, for example, they do say it's a revolution because it changed work in so many ways, and so many jobs that there were before, they went extinct basically because nobody needed them anymore, and then new jobs and new industries were created. And we are seeing that now is just happening a lot faster. Like before, if they would take years to invent something and then to introduce that like machinery or engine into an industry and then revolutionize that, right now we're seeing all those shifts that usually used to take years for it to happen. Now it happens within 6 months, a year. So I think this is as well why, because it's happening at such a great speed, people are scared in the first place, and second, they just scramble to catch up, I think, with everything that's happening.
They're scrambling because they're not ready, right? And
yes.
And their life isn't as stable as they would like it to be. They have gotten themselves into debt, or their job is of a nature that they are not a key person within the company, right? And I tell this all the time. Like, for example, one of my theories is I tell every single person that I know that's in trucking, and logistics and transportation, I tell them, you need to become very good at this from the standpoint of understanding the business or the industry, because your job is going away. Artificial intelligence is upon us, any moment now. And I think the next 10 to 20 years, at least 50%, if not more, of driver jobs will go away. And it's just normal. I mean, you cannot, if right now you're in your 20s or 30s and you're, let's say, a taxi driver, you need to be very cautious, because you can still do it for maybe 5-10 more years, but then after that, people will literally start having self-driving cars, and there will be companies out there that literally just have self-driving cars dispatched, right? You just ask for them, like Uber might have in the future, or other companies like Uber, they might invest in their own cars, and literally no more driver. Literally just put, okay, they dispatch 5 cars into a city, 20 cars in another city, and so on. And whenever you call an Uber, you might have the option to have it driverless, and it's going to be cheaper, because Uber doesn't need to pay the driver anymore, and for them it's more convenient because they control it, right? And so it's within their company. So I do see that happening, and you need to be ready as a professional, right, within your career, whether you're a business owner or whether you're working for a business or a freelancer or whatever that is. You need to make sure that you always have the skills that will be in demand this year, next year, the year after that, and so on and so forth. If you're doing something and you think your job is in jeopardy, right, I would start picking up skills immediately, right? Because it's important, and people will always need other individuals that they want to work with. But more and more things are being automated. So if you skill up, you know, and if you're ready for anything, it doesn't matter what shows up. You know, it's just, you will deal with it as a family, you know, or as an individual. You'll deal with things as they come, and you can keep happy. You know, you can keep staying happy, and you can keep enjoying life for what it is, which it's a blessing, right? So it's very nice to be alive, no matter what times there are, right? Especially if you have the technology and bandwidth to watch this video, you're definitely blessed, you know, from many perspectives. And so from that angle, you can literally look at it as, if I am blessed to live this life, let me make it as pleasant and as joyful as I can. And so I need to make sure that, you know, all of my needs are covered, basically, right? And no matter what happens, you know, I'm prepared. You know, if the industry changes, if my entire industry collapses, I have this other skill set I can do, or I can do this, that, or the other, or whatever, right? That's it.
Great. There would be so many other things that we could say about this past year. Good things, bad things, you know, all sorts of things. It's been a very interesting year overall, and we hope that you as well have learned some very good lessons as well. Let me know in the comments below what are some of the very important lessons that you feel you've learned over the past year. If you like the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Bye!
Bye-bye.